So the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, says he isn't trying to ignite a new Cold War. But Putin is touting Russia's new invincible nuclear-powered missile that is capable of hitting anywhere in the world, according to him. Putin showed a video as proof, simulating Russian missiles apparently raining down on Florida near the president's Mar-a-Lago estate. Our next guest is skeptical of Putin's claim about his capability, but has real feelings about his intentions. Joining us now is General Michael Hayden, former director of the CIA and NSA under President George W. Bush. Sir, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nothing subtle about that, General.
No.
Missiles, accurate or inaccurate about the capabilities, right down on Florida? I mean, is that...
Actually, that's one of the stunning aspects of the demonstration yesterday. That they would actually use an absolutely recognizable part of the United States to show where the targeting was. I mean, look, we'll run out our videos to explain capabilities and new capacities, but they're usually generic. They're not going after a particular country for that very reason. You don't want to be seen doing that. Clearly, he wanted us to see that.
Now, ordinarily, someone like you says, in the face of this kind of provocation, let me handle it. President should ignore this. However, can you think of any other inimical actor that would do something like this and not get an immediate response from President Trump? Can you imagine if North Korea did this, or China, or anybody that he's gone after in the past except Russia?
So the norm, as you suggest, is we're telling the president, we got this one, big guy.
Right.
We'll go ahead and comment on this. You keep your powder dry. We'll bring you on when we need you. And then you don't have the president mixing it up with every offense that real or imagined that takes place. President blows right through that kind of advice. And now you've got this kind of an offense, which really feels like Kim Jong-un rhetoric and stagecraft here coming out, and the president's not commenting on it. So what you've got is the delta is not that he does it all the other times, it's that he won't do it for this one.
Why?
And people draw conclusions from that.
No, look, I'm not saying that he should provoke
I don't know,
Putin.
of course
Nobody
not.
wants any kind of escalation.
Yeah.
We've had enough of that. But how do you explain his reticence to go word for word with this man when he does it with everybody else?
Yeah. So there's no logic that explains it. I don't know what created the dynamic, but we saw it during the campaign, right? And now it may be just at a point, Chris, where it's a thing for him now, that in order for him to say something about Putin now would be implicit admission that he should have been saying other things, and he just won't do it. It's not useful.
That's the best example.
Yeah.
That would be the best rationale. Right. If I do it now, I'll be giving in to my critics, so I won't. That is the best possible area. All the other ones are much more troubling.
Well, I'll give you a modestly darker one, all right? He actually admires the way Putin does business. He actually, in his heart of hearts, he may look at what happened yesterday in the Russian Federation and have a certain sense, why can't I give speeches like that? Why can't I do those kinds of things? I think there is a bit of autocrat envy in terms of the president's attitude towards the president of the Russian Federation.
And Putin envy.
No, the way he is able to govern, the things Putin is able to say, the way things seem responsive to Putin without the institutions of government pushing back on him, yeah, I think he'd like that.
Oof. And look, and to your point about the distinction between how he's dealing with this and otherwise, more talk again about potential preemptive military action on North Korea by the United States. Do you think that that is likely, and would you believe that that could be successful in any circumstance?
I don't think it's likely, and I have less confidence that it would be successful. I think the language we had here, Chris, that generated this most recent threat was if they showed the capability of the missile and the weapon, the capability of. You and I have been talking about this now for over a year and trying to parse out the language. Mattis has been very careful. Mattis has talked tough, the Secretary of Defense, but he's talked tough about the threat. If they threaten America, if they threaten America's friends. And it puts our response in a fairly narrow, fairly easy to define lane. Occasionally the presidents talk like this, not about the threat, not about the threatened use, but simply the existence of, the capacity to. And this most recent statement is over here. And that really, to me, is unsettling on a whole lot of levels.
Now, that goes to the finesse of message and the methodology and the sequencing that's involved. Those are terms that you've put into my head in terms of relevant aspects of this kind of planning and strategy. That takes us to H.R. McMaster.
Yeah.
We've heard many times, as of you, he may be on his way out. He's frustrated with the process. Trump doesn't listen to him. Trump goes against his advice. The president said yesterday that's not true. He's doing a great job. How important is McMaster to national security?
Well, the position is traditionally very important to national security. And unless you hire a Brzezinski, a Kissinger, or a Scowcroft, and we've had occasions to have those kinds of folks, what you normally get in the job is someone who controls the process of issues and information reaching the president, so that there's a methodology, that there's a sequence, that there's an order. All right? So that's HR's task. Can you imagine that?
Nope.
Discipline, order, sequence for this president. And so my picture, Chris, is we're going to have these sine waves of periodic friction simply because of the nature of the job and the nature of the president. And even if you pulled HR out and put someone else in, if he's going to do the job, you're still going to have these sine waves of friction because they're imposing things on the president who frankly wants to act spontaneously and immediately.
Putin pretends to drop missiles on Florida. Silence. Alec Baldwin, the actor, says something the president doesn't like. He tweets about it first thing in the morning. It would be crazy, but for us, it's just Friday.
It's Friday.
General, thank you very much. Appreciate the perspective.